So let us start with our interview questions today. So first interview question is the basic interview question. What is AEM? And its brief history. So generally when we start our interview, this is the first basic question. So the answer for that is Adobe Communic. Initially the Adobe Experience Manager was called Communic. Adobe Communic, currently known as Adobe Experience Manager, is a web content management system which enables organization to create websites, manage content, digital assets of the website through several medium like mobile, web browsers, tabs, or desktops. This is one definition that we can give. And one more definition we can answer is the AEM enables business to build one of a kind digital experiences and manage fully context optimized communication. So the actual definition is the Adobe Experience Manager is a Java-based content management system that is one of the Adobe Marketing Cloud component. We have so many Adobe Market components, cloud components, right? And AEM is one of that, and it was formerly known as a Communic CQ5. It is a hybrid content management system. It provides sophisticated and user-friendly choices for front-end application development for designers. It is used for designers, it is used for marketers, it is used for developers, as we have discussed. So it allows marketers to manage optimize content of their key channels without relying on third-party services. It gives developers to create, access, and reuse content elements over projects for consistent consumer experiences. So this is the definition. The powerful definition is this that we can give in the interviews. This is the brief history and what about AEM and what is AEM. What are the advantages of AEM over other CMS? So the capacity to build the digital custom experiences that are customized to user. So through AEM, we will build the websites like customized websites to as per the user's taste. So we can build custom digital experiences for a particular user. That is the first advantage of the AEM. And AEM lets users manage the digital content efficiently by providing best-in-class features such as we have content workflows, digital asset management, social and multi-channel collaboration. AEM is an amazing solution for handling mobile application, mobile websites, e-commerce marketing campaigns in addition to the simple website management. AEM provides road ahead for all the digital marketing when it combines with the Adobe marketing cloud tools. It is like once everything from the AEM side is over, then if we integrate it with the other cloud tools such as AEM, Adobe Campaign, Adobe Target, then it is a perfect road ahead for in the market. What are some Adobe cloud solutions? Adobe Target, Adobe Campaign, Adobe Social, Adobe Experience Manager. These all are the cloud solutions that clearly we can check over here. We can see like Adobe Advertising Cloud, Adobe Campaign, Adobe Primetime, Adobe Experience Platform, Adobe Analytics, Adobe Experience Manager. These all are the cloud solutions of the Adobe. So we can, once we install the tool, we can go here and check all the Adobe cloud tools. Then the important question, explain the architecture or technology stack of the AEM. This is the very important question that will be mainly asked in the interviews. What is the technology stack? We have JCR over OSGI and Apache Sling over JRE. These all are running in the Granite platform above Java runtime environment. So what is Java runtime environment? AEM is more or less a combination of jars, servlets, Java classes along static resources such as HTML5, pictures, assets. To drive this architecture, it needs JRE. JRE is a combination of JDK and some development tools. So it makes the application robust, scalable. Like you can utilize in any environment. So it runs our Granite platform, our framework runs on the JRE, and then we have the Granite platform. It is a general purpose platform for all robust and scalable applications. And then what is if someone asks like explain about Granite platform, it is a Adobe's open web stack. A web stack, what is meant by web stack? A web stack is a collection of softwares required for the web development. At the minimum, a web stack contains an operating system, a programming language, a database software, and a web server, and it forms technical base on which AEM is built. And the main thing now, what is Java content repository? This asked as a separate question. Like we can get a separate questions like what is OSGI, what is Java content repository, and what is Apache Sling. But instead, if there is a one single question that will be explain the architecture of technology stack, then if we can again answer all this in the one question. So let us go one by one. What is JCR? What is OSGI? What is Apache Sling? So JCR is one of a kind. It is similar to the database where the content stored in the hierarchical format, similar to the file system. If you observe the file system, it will be like a tree system, like one after one. If there will be a main folder, and in main folder you will have subfolders. Again in subfolder you will have some more sub. It is like a file system. Similarly, our JCR also is a kind of database where the content is stored in a hierarchical format structure similar to the file system, which combines the attributes of the file system and RDBMS and tries to provide it also provides the features of the RDBMS. Like, so now it provides the features of both file system and RDBMS, and is the both. Also, it supports structured and unstructured content. So this is about the JCR. What is JCR? You can answer it this way. And then what is OSGI? OSGI provides standardized primitives that it is like a specification set. So it set of specifications. It defines a set of standardized primitive that allows application to be constructed in small, reusable, collaborative components. These components can be composed into an application and deployed. Basically, you can give one more explanation that it allows application to be constructed in the form of modular components. That will be the best answer. The modular components, the small modular reusable components can be sold as a bundles. We generally tend to hear this word, what are OSGI bundles? So OSGI provides the standardized or primitives that allows application to be constructed from small reusable modular components, which are called OSGI bundles. That can be the answer. So what is Apache Sling? Again, Apache Sling is a framework. The from the official Apache Sling documentation, we have this definition. What is that? Sling maps HTTP request URLs to the content resources based on request path, extension, like from the URL itself, and selectors. Using convention over configuration, requests are processed by the scripts and servlets based on the current resource. This fosters meaningful URLs and resource-driven request processing, while the modular nature of the Sling allows specialized server instances that include only what is needed. This is the definition from the official Sling documentation. And but in simple terms, what we can say, Sling runs over the REST framework, which is like a which runs on the HTTP protocol. It's like a request resource thing. So it will what we can say, decompose it will treat the URL as a resource, decompose the URL based on the extension and selector, and fetch the content. So basically the Sling runs over the HTTP protocol. So this is a simple thing what you can say. And then what is a component? So what is the component? Components are the reusable modules that execute specific application logic to generate a website content. In a website, we can have n number of components. Each have their individual logic. logic. So also these individual components can be reusable in many websites. Like once you need to create the component, and same component you can use in your multiple website. The material available on your web pages is held, formatted, and rendered using the AEM components. The components allow authors to change and configure the content while creating pages. So the components inside component, like these will be the separate interview questions again. We have the dialogues. Okay, in dialogues we can author and change the content as required. We can change the website content dynamically by authoring the so that is what about component. And then what is template? A template helps you to set a uniform style for your application pages. So before create definitely it will ask to select a template. So to create a page, a template is needed. So a template helps you to set a uniform style for your page. Also, it also specifies which components are permitted to be used within the scope chosen. It's a tree of nodes with same structure as the page you are going to make. It is devoid of any actual content. AEM offers static as well as editable templates. Templates are used in AEM at several points. So where they are used? When building a new page, you would first choose a template that will serve as the foundation for your new page. The template specifies the structure of the final page as well as any starting content and possible components. So you would also choose a template when generating a content fragment. Yeah. So when you create content fragment, then also you should choose template. The structure, basic elements, and variants all are defined in this template. So next question, what are JCR namespaces? So Java content repository namespaces. Like you will, when you are creating components, you will write like CQ colon or JCR colon title or something like that, right? JCR colon mix in types. So you have CRX specific namespaces. You have JCR specific namespaces. So like that, JCR support namespaces. Namespaces prevent naming collisions among items and node types that come from different source and application domains. JCR namespaces are defined with prefix delimited by a single colon. Example, JCR title. Also, when you are creating like client libraries, you will create like CQ colon client library folder. Or CQ, when you're creating a dialog, you will give like CQ colon dialog. So there are CRX specific namespaces. So those are basically, so namespaces are used for preventing the naming collisions. And next, what are run modes? The run modes allow you to tune a specific instance. For example, author or publisher tester, test, development, intranet, or others. So basically, however you want your AEM instance to be tuned, whether it have to behave as an author instance, whether it have to behave as your publisher instance. So uh, the run modes helps us to make that thing. Basically, it allows you to tune your AEM instance for specific purpose. So examples can be author instance or publish instance or test instance, like that. And what is Cycly? Cycly called as HTL. Cycly is a HTML templating language, and it can have expression, have slash lines, it can have attributes, and comments is similar to the HTML. We will comment in the HTML language, same like how we comment in the HTML, and it is a combination of expressions and the block statements. And in the block statement, we will use the sly, and it is also having a specific sly element. And we have some attributes. That attributes we can go through while going through next interview questions. Then what is a dispatcher? So the dispatcher is an Adobe Experience Manager's caching or load balancing tool that can be used in the conjunction with the enterprise class web server. The dispatcher helps realizing an environment that is both fast and dynamic. It works as a part of static HTML server, storing as much as site content as possible in the form of a static website, accessing the layout as little as possible, and dispatcher module uses the web server's ability to serve the static content. The dispatcher places the cached documents. So like the basic thing is it is used for the caching only. Cached documents in the document root server for the of the web server. Uh, Also, it balances the load. Dispatcher is used for caching and the load balancing, load balancer. Then what is a replication agent and what is a reverse replication agent? So replication agent is something to flush the content from the author environment to the publisher environment. So when everything is ready, you will flush the content from the author to the publishing instant. That you can with the help of a replication process. We have default replication agents also in the AEM. Also, we can create some custom replication things. And reverse replication is the vice versa process. Like you, when you want, there can be the multiple publisher instances, and each publisher instance can have one replication agent instance to the author instance for some specific purpose. Then that is called the reverse replication process. And then how do you create the static template? How do you create the editable template? And what is the difference between both static template and editable template? So static templates are created for some purpose. You can you will how do you create the static template? Suppose you have the a component in your apps folder, and for that component you can create a separate folder as template, and you can define your own template structure for that particular components. Then that is called a static template. That is mainly used by the developers. Like developers can change anything and use it for their own pages. But whereas editable templates, how do you create editable templates? When this is these like first of all, what is editable template? These will be there will be a text which reuse in any page, and it will be in the hands of the author. Author can do anything. When like when author will not cannot touch the static template because it will be handled by the developers, and editable templates can be in the control of the authors. And how do you create it? First, you will go into the configuration tools, and then you will create like select the editable template. That is called the context aware configuration. First, you will perform the context aware configuration, and then create the editable template by giving the required properties, and from that editable template you will create the page. So from the, once you create that editable template, it will be in the by default we will have like two editable templates. If you go and see in the templates folder, HTML5 node and some adaptive form template. So when you create your own editable template, that comes and join you in your templates folder, you can select that template and you can create page from there. So that is about the editable template. So so see, the static templates are configured by the developers, and these are created and edited by the authors. It have the same structure of the page, and in editable templates we can define the structure. Structure is like what should be the what should be at the top, what should be at the footer. We can have some fixed headers and footers, and in middle we can add the components, so we can define the structure like that. And also we can add some initial content into it, like whatever components we are creating, we can add them over there. Also we can define some policies for that template we have created. And then these are what static mode to persist design properties, and the editable template use the content policies to persist the design properties. And the static templates, as we discussed, they are stored under apps, and the editable templates are created under configuration folder. in when and see in our CRX repository we have some folder structure, right? Under that we have conf, and there we create the editable templates. Then what is mean by extending a component? Explain inheritance. The what extending a component, we will do it with the help of the inheritance only. Inheritance is CQ colon component, and that means CQ component has various capabilities such as selectors and inheritance mechanism. Components can be given a hierarchical structure to implement the inheritance of script files and dialog boxes. Therefore, it is possible for a specific page component to inherit from the base component. For example, inheritance of a script file for a specific part of page can be specific part of a page by using the head tag. The components within the AEM subject to the following hierarchies. We have the resource type hierarchy, we have the container hierarchy, we have the include hierarchy. Container hierarchy is about the responsive grid structure. The hierarchy through that. The hierarchy is about slings using sling resource super type, and include we will use that include tag, and then include a particular script in one script. So that is also one type of inheritance. Among the main thing we use in AEM is a resource type hierarchy. That is using the sling resource super type. So using sling resource super type, whenever we are suppose we create a component and we give the sling resource super type property and the value of it as the path of the one base component, then we can inherit the components of the properties of the base component into our created component. So that is the use of the sling resource super type. And then what explain the folder structure of the repository in CRX. So in apps we store all the custom templates, components, and other definition related to your site are stored here. When you inherit the foundation component, it is done from the libs folder. Always copy the content from the lib folders to the app folder. And do not modify in the lib folder directly, okay? And then modify in the off folder. And the libs, what we have in libs indicates the libraries. It store all the libraries and definitions that belong to the Adobe Experience Manager code and stored here. It includes out of the box components, templates. In the AEM we have many out of box components, out of box templates, out of box content fragments, out of box workflows, like that. By default we have some out of box features in the AEM. So for the out of box components, templates, and some more features are stored in the libraries. So the out of box features are also called as the foundation components. And the content, so once we create anything, we author the content, or we give the names or things, those all will be stored in the content folder. And conf is for storing the configurations of your site. The folder is used to store the dynamic templates and policies of your site. And the etc contains all the resources related to the utility. And home contains like the user information, contains all the information related to the users and the groups. This is a is a temporary working area, and variables contains file that change or updated by the system, such as audit logs, statistics and event logs. Also, some of the variables that can be used globally, those can be declared in the variable like one file. So next, what are the client libraries? In CRX, we have in AEM, we have one feature, client libraries, which is a standard way to include a client library in the HTML of a page is to include script link tag in the Java server pages containing the path to the JS and CSS file. And plus the area we store our JavaScript files and uh, CSS files. If you can also store it separately instead of using it client libraries, but it becomes cumbersome sometimes. If you have one or two pages, then that's fine. But when you are using multiple pages, then it's difficult. So client library serves the purpose, like you can store the JS and CSS files there, but also you have text files, JS and text, one JS text file in the CSS client libraries, and one CSS text file in the client library, where you have to mention the file names. Like if in CSS.text you will mention what all CSS files you have included in your, and in JS.text you will mention what all JS files you have included in your client library. So that is the use of the client libraries. Then life cycle of a bundle. So where you can see the bundles, we will once go through. Okay, we will go to configuration manager. So here you have bundles, OSGI bundles. Those will have some particular states. It can be active, it can be resolved states. So like that, it is bundles are having one life cycle. It can be in the start, it can be started, stopped, it can be in the active, and it can be in the resolved state, installed or uninstalled states. And what is the template types and policy? So what is template type? Like when you create your page, you will select a template. So similarly, when you create a template, you have to select a template type. So such that the some structure and the initial content of the template type gets inherited into the template by default, and then you can enhance your template or modify your template as you require. So type create the template, and structure and initial content of the selected sample type is used to create a new template. After the template type is copied, only connection between the template and the template type is a static reference for information purpose. Uh, and then what are policies? Policies is the reason we are having policies is why the policy exists, like why you are creating policy, that you have to mention. And then policy statement, the policy's intent, when the policy applies, what are the mandated actions, and scope, we have to define the scope, like which components are affected, or what is affected by the policy, and definition terms specific to the policy. So content policies in the AEM are template level configurations for the template and its components. And we have some core components in our AEM. In AEM core components, like these are the production ready components that AEM provides by default. Provide robust and extensible base components. The base components, whatever we have talked about, is this on the latest technology, and you can find the code on the core component development exist outside the AEM code base. This enables you to update and enhance the components more often on the product releases. And then what are proxy components? So the proxy components are the components you create similar to the core components. It will refer to the core components. So what are sling models in AEM? Sling models are annotation driven Java bean classes which are mapped automatically with the sling options, sling objects, and allow us to access JCR node property values directly into the Java via annotations. And sling models support both classes and interfaces, like you can create a class and interface separately, or you can directly write everything in a class, but it supports both classes and interfaces. And sling model is implemented as an OSGI bundle. So whenever you create a sling model, it is treated as an OSGI bundle. A Java class is located in annotated with the @ model, and the adaptable class, for example, adaptables is equal to resource.class. The data members use @inject annotations. Like what are annotations, what all annotations are available in our sling models, we will see one sling @ model. So whenever you are creating a sling model, then you definitely use this annotation @model, and inside it you will declare your adaptables. The adaptables are the like you can specify if you are using some page properties in your sling model, then you have to specify your adaptable like sling http request dot class, like that. And if you are using the sling resources, then resource dot class. So this you can mention, and you can also specify the adapters. The adapters are like if you are using an interface, then you can mention in the adapter section. So @model, then @inject. @inject is used to inject the like data members from it is used so which you want to map from the JCR node properties to the Java classes. Those you will inject using @inject annotation, and @named. If you want to suppose you are using a Java JCR property with name of first name, and you are using, you will inject it using first self. But if you want to change the name, then you can use this named annotation and specify the new name you want. And optional. If you don't want that field, you want to make it as an optional, then you will make it optional. And if you want to have some values in your field by default, then you will use default. And if you once after all annotations are loaded, the methods you want to load, once everything is injected, those you can mention under post construct. Value map is similar to inject. So so there are like many annotations present in the sling model. So these are some. So just now we have talked about the client library. So when you are creating client libraries, there are like two properties you will add, like embed and the dependencies. So what are the dependencies? First of all, what is category? This is the identifier into which category our client lib belongs. A client lib can have one or more categories. Then what is dependencies? This define the other categories that our client library depend upon. The dependencies will be included in the page along with the dependent client lib. The property is transitive if you know the transitive property in the maths, right? So similar to it, if client lib A depends upon client lib B, which depends upon client lib C, then all the client libs will be included in the page. Then what is embed property? This defines the categories which will be combined to the current client lib. AEM will merge all the client libs into the current client lib. This is usually used for minimizing requests and for accessing client lib which are not supposed to be exposed to public. So embed property is not transitive. That means suppose if client lib A embeds client lib B, which embeds client lib C, then only client lib A and B will be included in the page. Client lib A and will be combined into one CSS and JS file. So suppose you want to include client lib C, then in then that particular client lib C must also be added into your client lib A. Then only the client lib C and client lib A properties will be combined. The CSS and JS file will be combined into one CSS and JS file. So this is not transitive, but in case of dependency, it is a transitive property. Then what is servlet? Servlet is a request response programming model. The request will be flowing, and then we will get the response from the server. A server is a class used to extend the capabilities of server that hosts application accessed by means of programming. For such application, servlet technology defines HTTP specific servlet classes. It runs over the HTTP protocol. So once you send your request through servlet, it will fetch the response from the server and get back to you to the front end. And with the response we get, we can use that particular data in our front end website. So General question in Java is what is life cycle of the servlet? Servlet life cycle can be defined as an entire process from its creation till the destruction. So servlet is initialized by calling the init method. The servlets call service method to process the client's request. The servlet is terminated by calling the destroy method. So in AEM we have two methods to register it, using resource type and using paths. So using path, you can directly specify the path of the servlet and have this servlet request response method. Using this way, we can directly use a path specified in the request, and our servlet will be executed. And using resource type, we have discussed about sling content rendering thing, right? Using this way, you use sling resource type property for the node. For this, we need to hit the path in the browser for which sling resource type is the given one. How the run modes allow you to create the AEM instances for specific purposes. For example, author instances use author run mode and publish instance use publish run mode. On-site run modes are used to tune the each instance, like we have talked about it. So while creating, how to create run modes once initially when you start the like have jar file, then you will rename the, if you want to make it as a author instant, you will rename it to the author and then double click in it, or using the command line command prompt also you can execute the command and you can run your AEM instance. Similarly, you will rename it to the AEM port number publish instant, and then same way of starting in the publisher environment. Then there we have two types of dialogues, a design dialog and a normal dialog. This dialog we will use in the editor mode, like in page, when you create a page first, you will have a chance to edit the page, then that is called the editor mode. And so design dialog modifies the content at the page level, and design dialog modifies the content at the object level, and it is authored in the edit mode, and it is authored in the design mode. You can select the mode. Stored in the JCR content node, stored under the design page located under etc and the design. And the command, you suppose when you have to debug the things, you will create the servlets or and all, and you are getting in your error, you are getting error in your test, then you have to debug like where it is going wrong, like how much part is getting read correctly and where it is getting stopped. So to debug those things, you will create your own custom logs for such particular servlet, and then you can start your AEM in this debugger mode, so that in Eclipse or whatever you are using, the developer tool, using that you can keep your own debugger points and start checking like how it is running. And then how do you inject OSGI service into model? So OSGI service into model, how do you do it? Using the @OSGI service annotation we have in Sling models. So using that annotation, you can inject the any service into your model. And the internationalization, we have discussed about that. This is IITN key. The same thing has to be used in the different language. This IITN keys are used. So instead of specifying directly for in the node, you have to mention IITN keys, and those IITN keys should be like the value should be specified in the IITN folder separately. In IITN folder, you can create any separate folders for language. Like in IITN folder, you can create EN for English, FR for France, and then you can specify the no key sling key value there. What internationalization and content rendering. So the content rendering process, this is a big process using sling resolution that we have gone through. So we have nodes and properties like we have nodes and then subnodes. Each node have a property and value, and we have also namespaces, and yeah, this is again a process. How we will do this using resolution process. You suppose you will create a file in the apps folder with some content, and you will create a file in the content folder and give the sling resource type property there, and in the sling resource type you will give the path of that component that is present in the apps folder. Then that particular content from that file will be rendered. But how does it do that? Using the sling resolution property, it decompose the URL. This is again the process. Like it will decompose into host, content, path using selectors, extension, and the parameters. And then what happens? Suppose this is the my host spy HTML. One second. Yeah. Suppose this is the structure in the apps, HR, jobs. You have this. So as soon as we create thing, by default, we will get the JSP file generated with the same name as the node. Then if you want to create separate files, you can create it separately. By default, the JSP generated will have the same node name, and then here in content you will have this developer node with sling resource type property as the HR jobs. Then what will happen? Yeah, so we have this selector, right? Jobs dot developer. This is a selector. Then it will go to the what you mean to the developer and finds out the sling resource type. It that is HR jobs. Then it will go into the apps HR jobs, and by default the jobs will have this, right? So jobs.jsp, the content present in the jobs.jsp is the is rendered. And suppose you want it separately for the pdf.jsp, then you have to mention like in the URL you will have to mention like what developer dot pdf dot html. Go and find out the name. We have already done it using example by creating the some files. We can refer to that process how it is getting done. So then sling resource type. This is the sling resource type have the path property for the content rendering, but whereas sling resource type is used for inheritance or extension of the component to fetch the properties of the base component. And then what is content fragment? Content fragment, like you will not create the content fragment inside the page. It is independently in the asset section. Remember experience fragment we create in the experience fragments we have in the AEM console, but whereas in content fragment we create in by navigating through assets in files. We will create the content fragment there. It is independent, and once you create the variation for the content fragment, that thing you can use in your page if you require. You will drag and drop the content fragment component in your page, and then you will select the your custom like from the DAM you will create you will select the content fragment you created and you can use in your page. So it is used for the reusability. And a group of one or more components including content and layout that can be referenced with the pages. It can have another experience fragment. It is a part of an experience page. It can be used across multiple same fragments based on the template. editable only. You define the structure and the components. It is made up of one or more components. It can include images, it can include videos, whereas content fragment can only include the content. Then what are workflows? Workflows are used to activities. It will have some series of steps to perform. First of all, from where you will have workflows here in the tools workflow, you can go here and check models, instances, launchers. You can create your own model in the model section, and you can also go through the default DAM update asset is the famous workflow that we use. You can go through how it is created. So it is used to automate activities. It will have series of steps, like it will have a start node and stop, like ending step, and in between we have transitions. You can include your own steps in the middle. And we also have out of box workflows. And then what are schedulers? Schedulers in simple term, scheduler is a service to schedule jobs, like at what time it should have to open, or what regular intervals it should have. It should happen. It is implemented through the service. Like there are two ways to implement the schedulers, using whiteboard pattern and scheduler API. Right now we are not using this whiteboard patterns. We are using this scheduler API. We have to import a library, and then we can implement it as a service. So next we can go through what is overlaying. The process of overlaying is when you overlay, like in as we discussed in library libs folder, we have many out of box components. So when you overlay a component in overlaying in component in AEM means copy content component from libs folder, and you can paste in your apps folder, and you can improvise it, like you can enhance it with your own definitions. You can modify it but never change in the libs folder. So that is what overlaying means. You can impose your own definitions on the newly copied components under apps. We have copies, like live copy is you will create your site, and the same copy you will create like a live copy where you have exact things in your as like your original copy. So every time you need not copy entire thing from this to there. Directly you can use this synchronizing property. There is a synchronizing property. You can synchronize as you modify something in your original content. So live copy is a copy of specific site content for which a live relationship with the original source is maintained. A live copy inherits content from source. Synchronization performs the actual transfer of content. So prime use case is to reuse content tied to multiplication. The example of usage of live copy is sharing the content on multiple subsites. And a language copy is a copy of an existing site that is to be translated to another language. So there is no live relationship or established as in case of live copy. It is a one-time copy of the content. What is mean by purging? Purging means like cleaning off the things. So there is a purge tool that is in versions of the node, like once the version becomes old, if you are using some things in your like latest one, if you are using, then it will using the purge version tool, we will remove those. Purging the version of nodes or hierarchy of the nodes in your primary purpose is to help you reduce the size of your repository by removing the old version of your tools. So this is one. And then what are the ways to load the digital assets in your DAM? One can add asset to DAM by using the graphical user interface or the web DAM. If you are using the graphical user interface, all you have to do is browse your files, like whatever you want, and CQ will build metadata from the DAM. When you need to upload a big number of assets at once, you will most likely use the web DAM. what are the services and its use? Any OSGI service is a Java instance registered into an OSGI framework with a set of properties. So the functions written in the services that can be reused for any servlet. So any Java object can be registered as a service, but typically it implements a well-known interfaces. The advantages is lightweight services separates interface from the implementation. So direct method invocation, directly we can invoke the method in the OSGI service. It's actually a good practice also. Yeah, it enables reusability, sustainability. Yeah, so these are some of the interview questions. So that's it for today. Practical, you should also have hands-on, or then you can answer the practical questions asked by the interviewer. So thank you.